Hello. You find yourselves at Alistras Old Vines in central Cormier late in the evening of September 4th. The tavern is quieting down. Loud talk has given way to low murmurs. You mentally inventory your surroundings. Tony Lamartino is sitting at the bar. He motions for you, Taldred, and slides you a leather envelope. Inside, there is a check and 6 postcards held together with a thick tin clip. Samantha Ruthenberg and Evan Spanbauer are sharing a story. Georgie and Aaron, 2 spellcasters, current or former, seem to be waiting for their check. Sally Vance is passed out in the west room, and Elias Kitt is watching her from the table, bemused. Elias looks up at you, Brenner, as if he has something to ask you about. You hear whispers from the kitchen and the clinking of glasses being washed. Outside, there are crickets. Lightning bugs blink in pleasing, irregular patterns over the little pond. 2 of the horses disagree with a huff. It seems that things are wrapping up for the night here. Mercifully, everything has an end. The action is with the party. And Taldred, I'll have that envelope for you in one moment here.
Brenner leans into Elias. What do you have to say?
Elias Kitt turns to you, Brenner Oswick. He fingers his mustache as he thinks. Iron Man, we need to talk. These 2 said that this paladin was your ward. I overheard them talking about it. But, Brenner, I recognize their insignia. He is a captain in the 5th Marines. She is a lieutenant in the 5th Marines. Who do you really think she's going to take orders from? Are you sure she's not just trying to pacify you? I can keep an eye on her as you asked, Iron Mane, but these are my concerns.
Your concerns are most warranted. I don't think she's going to take my order. We've mostly come to an accord for peace, if that's what you can really call it. The rest of my cohorts have decided that she is better served to us living than dead. I don't necessarily agree, but that's the only terms I could come to. And that's why you're here.
He nods at you. So, you want me to keep an eye on her still? That's the play?
You and Sala.
He nods. Taldred, you start to flip through the envelope in front of you. Also, will we do something with Lapalezzi's sword? Either the party discards it, or it should be on someone's sheet.
Sorry, I'll put it on my thingy.
There's a lot here, Taldred. You receive your check and some mementos. There is murmuring at the table and crickets outside. Tony.
I was gonna say, I think Nothing Gold is still trying to interact / flirt with Ari. So she's kind of like twirling her hair and giggling a lot, and eventually just goes, "So, how does this work? Can I just buy information off of you?"
Ari is slouched by the fire, where she holds a tiny gunmetal sharpening stone between her thumb and forefinger. She is honing the edge of a small dagger. Her hair is the color of dilute black tea, and the musculature of her forearm holds the sharpening stone very still as she uses it. Nothing Gold, she looks up at you with a silent smile. There is a long moment. And Ari asks you, what is it that you want to buy exactly?
Oh, well, you mentioned that you were traveling around. It could be useful to know something about the state of the roads, and I guess I'm curious why you're so interested in us. Or, I assume that I'm the most interesting person here, but you keep looking that way.
She eyes you up and down carefully. Describe your posture, Nothing Gold.
She's like very familiar. Like if she's sitting in a chair, she's kind of leaning up against the edge of it, curled over, like leaning in kind of close. Again, giving off these like hee hee vibes.
And that suits your state. You are well prepared after indulging in the bottle of wine outside in the dark. It is easy to fall into the pattern of a party girl. Ari, however, seems more amused than appreciative. She puts her dagger away, sliding it into her holster. She thinks about you, Nothing Gold, and she gestures toward your friends. You are potentially the most interesting people that I've met on the road. I'm just looking for something that I own. I heard it's in Arabel. I have a feeling that you came from Arabel.
Well, a lot of people are fleeing Arabel at the moment.
Oh, really? She taps her tongue to her front teeth. Why would that be?
Well, I don't know. It seems like you should pay me for that information, or maybe we can do a trade.
She tilts her head and considers this for a moment. And we'll come back to this. Taldred, Tony, his heavy, oily hair is starting to fall into his face as he wipes off the bar top. He's looking at you somewhat expectantly.
Okay, so Talder doesn't drink, but he does know something of luxuries, okay? Do I think that this wine is actually worth 45 gold a bottle.
Roll insight. You attempt to ascertain the insight behind the bill of sale that's been presented to you. Are you being fleeced?
18.
You, Talder Talden, knowing a thing or two about trade, get the impression that while you may be being served at a touristy rate, you're not really being ripped off. And you realize that here, effectively, the proprietor sets the price.
Was the price listed anywhere in here, though?
It was not. There's no, you have come to expect, Talder Talden, a little chalkboard, something like that, something showing the pricing, a menu, would that be too much to ask? Nothing like that is present, giving Tony Lambertino a bit of a negotiator's advantage, you surmise. He sees you eyeing him up and he knows what you must be thinking. He gives you a little nod.
Taldred, like this.
You call him over, am I correct?
Not call him over. Lean in closer.
He does so.
Tony, it's a very good thing you gave this to me. You see, I'm the nice one. I'm the rational one. Okay? After letting you serve us to excess, I would expect to pay more of a wholesale price than what you're showing me right here.
Wholesale? He puts his meaty hand on your shoulder. You guys, a great guess. I have much respect for people that can come in here and drink like the lot of you have. On the other hand, I don't know if I'd call you a wholesaler.
I want to see if that first part, like he says he has respect for us. I suspect that's bullshit because if Taldred thinks, I should say, if he ran a tavern, he would fucking hate adventurers. He has a feeling.
Without any check necessary, you do get the impression that that was not meant necessarily with a aura of veracity. You sense that Tony may be fucking with you just a little bit, Taldred Talton.
So Taldred kind of leans in a little bit more. He says, okay, I'm not a wholesaler, so what would you call 6 incredibly armed people?
How do you deliver that? Are you...
Bluntly, I would say. Like, this is not me, Taldred, being fanciful.
You know, roll intimidation. Don't even tell me what you get. Hold that thought. We'll come back to it. So you'll know, but I won't know, okay? Walk me through Yoros, Gastmere. What are you guys up to? Aren't you having a nice night? Look at all the wonderful wares that have been plied for you. Do you not feel a sense of camaraderie within this wonderful tavern? Aren't you having the best time?
I had a good time drinking all of Taldred's drinks.
Yeah, I mean, Gasmit is appreciating this fine wine. And obviously somebody else is paying for it. Taldred has it handled right. Taldred always says, I have it handled, so he's handling it.
I've had a long day, so I've already finished off my own bottle, and then I've drank Taldred's after much warning that I shouldn't drink too much. And I've had 3 bowls of stew. I'm doing great.
You feel full, satiated. But what do you do? Do you eavesdrop? Do you talk to anybody?
Gasmir is eavesdropping on Brenna, actually.
Ah, eavesdropping on your comrade, Brenner
Just a
Oswick.
bit. I mean, she's standing like right nearby him, so. This is the excuse by which you are allowed to eavesdrop, because I am standing so close that it's impossible not to hear it.
It's totally fair. Brenner doesn't mistrust Lissa, so anything that he says, she probably hears. He's speaking in more hushed tones to Elias at this point, but that's mostly against Samantha rather than anyone else in this part.
You catch that Brenner is dropping his voice to have a conversation with Elias Kitt, who you have come to know, Lissa Gasmir, is the second in command of the Oswick Company. It is unclear what they could be trying to conceal, but after hearing Brenner's voice for several days now, many times, you have a good palette with which to draw from, and you know that he is speaking in a slightly conspiratorial tone. He's talking to Elias about something important. And you perform this naturally. You use your proximity to this conversation to do so without seeming intrusive.
I think, considering that she's also aware of the original reason why Brenner contacted these people, she can probably guess that they might be talking about Samantha and Samantha's new friend.
That is mostly the discourse that they're having at this point. Even though by the tail end of it, you can tell that Brenner is about to stand up, attempt conversation with somebody.
Speaking of
Making
someone,
it brief. Sorry, I just said he's making it brief.
Ada Worthware.
I'd like to look in on the paladins and see what their posture is.
Ah, you wish to detect the posture and the tone of the conversation of the paladins. Samantha, in a rare bit of levity, Ada, is grinning as she imitates a dramatic sword thrust forward. A mane of her blonde hair tosses into her face as she remembers her own strength from some previous battle. They see you looking at them, Ada. What? Evan says. His mouth is pursed as if he is waiting to say something, but instead he opts for an icy stare.
I'm just gonna shrug. Like, I'm not looking for a fight, relax.
You sense that he is looking for a fight.
If he makes anything more than a front puffing his chest out, I'm gonna roll my eyes, like if he gets up or something like that.
He doesn't get up, but he is right on the cusp of that type of, as you said, puffed up behavior. You can tell that that's how he's trying to present himself here, and you know, having observed him throughout the night, that he's had quite a bit to drink.
Of course.
You think that
No, go ahead.
No, please.
I will yawn to break eye contact.
You do so, and it is getting rather late, isn't it?
These two dressed in robes here. Is this more of a relic?
A relic?
A little bit brazen to be dressed in robes of Agma in the middle of a Zent-occupied country.
You detect that wearing robes like that is somewhat brazen or extremely out of touch. A relic, perhaps.
What's their business? What's their deal? What do they look like?
You continue to eavesdrop and listen to people and study them, Ada Worthware. Ada Worthware, did anyone ever tell you that nobody likes the person at the bar that stares at everyone? Regardless, Georgie is rubbing his papery hands together. Aaron has a little laugh. I used to love the way he would get so worked up, she croaks, and it is unclear who or what they are reminiscing about.
Can I place the accent?
Roll.
I'm trying to like place the accent in one of the major colleges of magic.
Ooh, that's a great question. Roll history at advantage.
$17.
You, Ada Worthware, can't quite place their accent. However, what you can place is the cant of what they're talking about, the types of words they use, and what they're going on about. You are able to infer that they are former coworkers. And I will give you the choice between one of two things that you can additionally infer, Ada, and we'll come back to you so you can think about it, okay? You can, over the course of several minutes of the evening, as the evening wraps up, you could eavesdrop on several of their conversations. Or you could also piece together exactly what it is that they worked on. So either would you listen to them and really pay attention to what they're saying, or do you try to place their piece in something greater?
The second one.
Don't tell me. We're coming back to it. You're still thinking about it. You're still thinking about this. You didn't make that decision yet. Close that door. Nothing gold. Ari spends a long moment considering your offer of information for information. She steeples her little fingers together and looks at you. You have a sense that one of the things that she is studying is how different you are from her and most of the people that you are surrounded by. You have a sense of otherness, Nothing Gold, as if as she stares at you, she's not looking at who you are, but rather what you are. And finally, she speaks. I don't know if you'll have the information that I want. But I'll ask you, and I'll tell you what. If you don't know, then you don't owe me anything. Is that fair?
Well, how can I owe you something if you haven't given me anything yet?
What would you like?
How do you get into this? Who are you working for?
Would you believe me if I said I work for myself?
But you have a client list, do you not?
I have a full commission schedule.
Where are you going next?
Arabelle, I'm looking for something of mine.
Something of yours or something someone else asked you to find?
The first one.
Well, it's a big city. It's hard to find something in all those doors.
I'm looking for something rather ostentatious. I think that someone would know it if they saw it.
How did you lose it?
Someone stole it from me and fenced it.
Oh.
And I'm confident that they fenced it. She extends a slender arm northward, and you know where she indicates. So, she waits.
I'm listening. What are you looking for?
She runs a hand down the contour of her ribcage into her stomach. Leather armor that was mine. And now someone else has it. I just want to know where it went.
Is there something, some distinguishing feature about this armor?
I think you'd know it if you saw it.
As belonging to you.
She smiles at you silently.
Well, I mean, I've been around the markets in Arabel. Leather armor's not hard to come by, but if you're going up to look for it yourself, you might run into I don't know, a lot of paperwork, I guess.
She considers this for a long moment. Paperwork? Like customs?
Yes, exactly. The whole city's in some sort of disarray, and I don't know, taxes are being charged, so people are trying to offload a bunch of stuff. And anyway, well, I was gonna say I'm probably coming back to Arabelle at some point if you want me to go look for it.
She holds your gaze for a long moment, as if she's trying to discern the nature of this offer and what your intent could be behind suggesting that you will see each other once again. I wouldn't mind that. And we arrive at Taldred Talton and Tony Lamartino at the bar. What was your intimidation roll?
15.
You throw your weight around, Taldred Talton. You threaten a common proprietor
Vaguely.
somewhere far away from here. You can imagine, vaguely, Joaquin frowning upon you as you transgress. Tony slowly straightens his back. He looks taken aback. Well, you have to pay something.
And I fully intend to.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to cross you and your friends. Is that why you're here? I brought you into my house.
settle down. Okay, like I said, you're talking to me.
He nods his head warily.
So, how does 35 gold a bottle sound?
He, a little too quickly, Taldred, says, "Yeah, okay, that's fine." You seem to have muscled him down a little bit, and he quickly computes the price. Nine bottles, and we're taking it from 45 to 35, is that correct? Tony quickly adds it up. He looks up at you, Taldred. 316, 316, yeah?
Taldred nods.
316 gold, that seems fair. Seems fair. It was still great having you, by the way, despite your manners.
Taldred just, like, his mouth is, like, twitching a little bit.
Roll perception.
Ten.
He just said something under his breath, but you can't quite pick it up. Did Tony Lambertino just call you a prick? Is that what just happened?
Taldred's been called a prick pretty often, so there's a good chance of that.
At the fire, Ari stands up and looks at you, nothing gold. How would I find you when you're traveling back to Arabel?
Well, the marketplace is pretty distinctive. There's a row of trees that encircles it, particularly on the eastern side. If you were to, I don't know, leave me a note attached to one of the branches there, I check that pretty regularly.
Ah, a dead drop, as it were.
Yeah, and then we can arrange a meetup, somewhere nicer than this, I would hope.
She stands contrapposto. She rests all of her weight on her left leg. What do I call you?
Nothing gold.
She extends a delicate hand.
She takes it with both of her hands.
Both of your tiny little dryad hands flank her large, relative to you, human hand. She looks amused at this imitation of a handshake and nods. Without saying another word, she walks to the western room, sits down on the bed that must be hers, and it seems like she's preparing to turn in for the night.
As soon as she's out of eyesight, she whirls, nothing gold whirls around on her heel in Ada's direction, and just like all of that joy and flirtiness just sags.
Looking over at Ada, you have a sense of this energy leaving your body as you don't quite achieve the satisfaction that you wanted from this interaction, and it looms over you. Ada Worthware, have you settled on the second option, listening through the conversations, or have you changed your answer?
Yeah, the second conversations.
You listen to several conversations between these two former co-workers. You hear two things. You hear Georgie, the man, say, "What I always thought was interesting was that the portal used to go east, and then I couldn't even divine a direction." His compatriot, Aaron, replies, "That's why they offered us the buyout anyway. Georgie, you were supposed to verify the coordinates of the incoming portal, 42 degrees east." Georgie replies, "And then it seemed to come from somewhere that we couldn't really see." Aaron nods. "Ah, interloper coordinates." Wonder what she's talking about, Ada Worthware.
Would Ada know about the portal network in Cormyr?
You're starting to put two and two together. What specific questions do you have about the portal network in Cormyr? Its existence?
Yeah, its existence. A very high view.
Not only do you know about its existence, but after a few minutes pass, you hear them talking specifically about the portal network again. Casting clairvoyance. You can learn a lot about a portal by casting that spell, even when it's not open. We used to maintain the portal to Halrua before we retired. You hear them talk about how, even after the spell plague, the portals continued functioning. You discern from this conversation that they once maintained a trade portal to Halrua. You also discern, Ada, that after the spell plague, it seems like something happened to the Halruans, and the direction of the portal, the cardinal direction that you were able to divine with a clairvoyance spell, changed after the spell plague. Would you like me
That
to?
would be a big deal.
Would you like me to repeat that, or I know that was several things chained together. After the spell plague, the cardinal direction discerned by the clairvoyance spell.
No, I got it. Yeah,
You got it. Okay.
Ada's interested. Ada would like to butt in.
You butt in.
I'll walk up. I'm sorry. I know I'm a total stranger. I couldn't help but overhear you talking about magical things, and it's been so long since I've been able to talk with an equal. My name's Ada. It was good to meet you.
Erin holds out her bony little hand. Ada, you're rather old, but somehow she seems far more ancient than you. She takes your hand and lights up with glee. An equal? Oh, she elbows her coworker and friend, Georgie. He completes her thought. Ah, a spellcaster.
We're all but gone from this realm, unfortunately.
He nods. And most realms, actually.
Is that so?
He tilts his head as if he was just saying it almost to complete the thought. You wonder, are these people all there, Ada? Erin is still holding her hand, and she shakes it happily. She leans in close to you, Ada. Oh, I love your robe.
Thank you. Used to be a robe of Ogma, but that's not exactly welcome around here.
Oh, now that's just something silly that people say. You don't think that Ogma's respected around here?
Only people I like respect Ogma around here. Let me say it that way.
She laughs. She's so happy to meet someone like you, Ada. She clasps your shoulder with her free hand and sizes you up. She seems short, frail. You would estimate that she's probably in her early 80s, Ada.
Divination school studies, yeah? That's what you two did.
You're exactly right. We were professionals, actually.
Oh, yeah? Did you work for Cormier proper?
We did. We worked for the Kingdom of Cormier. Portal-based trade.
Incredible. I've heard all about the portal system in Cormier. What a crown jewel of civilization.
You, looping back to your much previous request, you do know this, that Cormier, here in central Faerun, was a trade superpower before there was any portal network. And it was thus that by using this massive arcane installation, they were able to surpass even the commercial dreams of themselves. Erin is so happy to see you, Ada. You sense that she would clap if she wasn't still holding your hand with her bony, papery little hand.
So the one last thing I'll say before I pass the buck. I'll sit down and I'll say, please, indulge me. Tell me a story.
They proceed to tell you a story about they're eager to tell you about their buyout. For them, you heard them mention this earlier. You sense that this is centrally important to them, that they heavily identified with what they did, being professionals, being tradespeople who did something with arcane magic in a government setting almost. They tell you about how soon after the spell plague, they were bought out because there no longer was a need for them to perform the divination magics that they once had to do in order to confirm what was coming from where. That their divination magics had been made obsolete after the spell plague, when no longer were they able to divine the direction that things were coming from. You understand, Ada, that they were almost customs officers themselves, being able to discern these things are coming from the east. It is thus, by determining that exact direction, that we are able to verify who is sending it and from where.
Across the table, do I know if scrolls work still?
Scrolls do still work. But who will make them for you?
Well, they're already made. You just have to find them.
Across the table, if you have a quill up your sleeve, you're obligated to tell me. And you pass the buck. Who else? The evening drags on. It is getting rather late into the night.
Soldier finds a heavy gauntlet on his shoulder, a gesture that you've seen Brenner do time and time again, as if he's compulsed to touch the person he's talking to. Rosy-cheeked, he asks you, or rather state, I'm glad we had at least one good night together as a party. Thank you for that. Have we decided if we're staying here or are we camping out by this? He gestures to the south.
Father says, I think it'd be best if we stayed here.
Yeah. The room's open as he looks up to Tony.
Of course. I assumed that you'd want all the beds we have. Now I know there's 6 of you. I've only got 5 beds. Would that be a problem?
We'll make do.
Wonderful. Wonderful. He looks a bit nervous, and you wonder the nature of the conversation that Taldred had with him a moment ago. He seems a bit shaken. This is no adventurer, no combatant, no military man, Brenner. This is merely Tony Lamartino. He just runs a winery.
He's got a nice winery. Seems like a nice man.
And you sense that Taldred put the screws to him.
About this time, I'll probably finish everything that was in front of me. And I will slide the 5 gold that Nothing Gold gave me for her bottle of wine to Tony as a tip.
You tip Tony Lamartino. He gives you a big, healthy grin. Finally, someone with some manners.
Thank you, Tony. The food was wonderful.
It was. You feel satiated. You have a full belly. It brings you a bit of joy on this chilly night. Speaking of Tony Lamartino and the exchanging of gold, Taldred, it seems like Tony's waiting for something. He keeps coming back to check on you.
But I'm not up yet, right?
You're up when you're up.
If that's the case, Taldred will try to get Nothing Gold's attention.
Nothing Gold is completely absorbed in just making what looks to be doe eyes at Alyssa Gasmere.
Alyssa Gasmere, it is as if a deer is staring at you, but it is only half a step removed. It's merely Nothing Gold.
Statuesque as always, Gasmere is standing there and she sips her wine and she discreetly side-eyes Nothing Gold, sips her wine again, and as this has gone on for several uncomfortable minutes, she finally sighs and looks down at Nothing Gold. Yes?
I feel like you're avoiding me.
How could I be avoiding you? I'm standing right here, aren't I?
Well, it's just that, oh, I don't know, you've been giving me such mixed signals these past few days.
My signals are perfectly straightforward.
Are they? I mean, one day you're carrying me up a mine shaft as a personal favor, the next day you're trying to race Samantha Ruthenberg to kill me. What are we?
There's a distinct difference. I was racing Samantha Ruthenberg so that I could shake you down, as they say, without murdering you.
Well, thank you for that.
Sip.
But you still haven't answered my question.
That's a complicated question, is it not?
I suspect it is less complicated for you than for me.
Really? And why is that?
I mean, do I have to tell you how old I am?
It seems a touch gauche to be discussing a lady's age. Then again, are you really a lady?
Well, I mean, the last time I saw you, you were, what, yay high? Oh, wait, that's not right.
Yes. And quite a few things happened.
Quite a few things. I thought you would be some sort of graduate.
Oh, how the world changes. In ways I did not desire, obviously. One must adapt. Overcome.
Consume.
We must always consume to keep ourselves fed, do we not? Is this not what we're doing? Fine wine. Broth. Reach your comforts.
You're quite a creature, Alyssa Gasmere.
Was it intentional?
Was what intentional?
They're consuming. There are nights where I think you rather thought it would go the other way around. Was it intentional?
Nothing Gold has a moment where she just looks very drunk. Like, she looks up, parsing words, replaying them back. Eventually is like, can you just say it directly?
I don't think this is the proper place for such a discussion. Besides, I'm sure you're capable of saying things in a very indirect manner if you wish.
For you, I would make an exception. But fine, we can talk about it later. I will be
If we
hunting you
survive.
down. If we survive?
It's funny that you think yourself the hunter.
I mean, who found who?
I
Chin
think
up.
We're looking for something else.
You must think positively. Of course we'll survive. You should be more concerned with what you'll do with all your time after we're done surviving.
Oh, I know what I'll do with my time. Don't worry about that.
I'm not going to ask. Taldred, did you need something?
To stop watching this, yes. Taldred goes over to Nothing Gold. He hands her the bill and he says, I talked him down. You're welcome.
Are you paying?
Am I paying?
I thought
Well,
he was
you're
paying.
the one who had the chest of gold, so I would imagine so.
But weren't you the pockets of the group before? Have you run through all of your whatever?
I did not eat or drink anything here, okay? You all did,
Wait, why didn't you eat?
because I ate earlier. You think this just happens? You people are killing me. Really?
I just think you deserve nice stew? Although it is pretty gross, so I guess that's okay.
Is it in your nature to always be so dramatic?
I'm
Part of
not
his charm.
dramatic.
Maybe if
Yes,
you
you
ate more,
are.
you wouldn't stand around a fence.
You've been drinking. I'm gonna let that go.
What was that, Euros? Do repeat that. I'd love to hear it.
Oh, it's Yoros' spine, my favorite person in the group.
Seems a brief appearance. It's vanished again. Alas.
Well, Taldred, let me ask you this, and she gestures for him to lean in. Do you think
Hey.
we're coming back here?
Beg your pardon.
If I just gave him something that looks like gold?
We have quite a bit after our last venture, and I talked him down reasonably. We can spare this. Slightest expense.
But it's more fun my way.
No, it's not.
So, like, what's great about this is there's no way Yoros can hear this, so I don't even know, like, what that's in reference to.
I think he could just judge by the look, like the look of bullshittery on Nothing Gold's face that something is going on.
I have caught on to what the look of bullshittery is.
Taldred, you are the eye of the storm. Everybody around you seems particularly obnoxious, even more so than usual. You, as always, are forced to be the rational center. Will the edges hold?
God, I hope so.
Euros, are you sloshed?
I've had 2 people's worth of drinks, so I think I'm up there.
Taldred, you have a sense of this.
Yes, I do.
Yoros doesn't get to drink much. He very much revels in the bottle when he can.
Well, especially after today's events, I think everybody sort of understands exactly why Yoros is drinking. All right, fine. I will do this as a personal favor because we are friends now. However, the rest of the gold really needs to be spent on materials.
I agree. And we still have something waiting for us in Suzale, I have a feeling.
We
Gasmir
have
leans
many
over to
things.
pat Taldred on the shoulder once and leans in and says, "That favor comes with a price. Do watch out." And then she turns around, goes back to her bottle of wine and refills the glass.
Mixed signals. Do you not see what's going on here?
Champ, I think you've had one too many.
Who is he talking to?
He's talking to Nothing Gold. He actually, Taldred puts a hand on her shoulder. He goes, "You struck out twice. Just sleep it off. Tomorrow's a new day."
I'm losing my charm. You ought to be giving me tips at this point.
How much wine do you have left, Gasmir, in your bottle?
Some. Would you like it?
Yes.
She pours him a glass.
I'll just raise it.
She toasts him elegantly.
You strike an elegant toast, thus ending the evening. It sounds like the party has reached a quorum to stay here at Alistrassel Vines. Is that correct? And you're taking a long rest?
I
Correct.
believe we can get around the whole we don't have enough bed things by simply having someone on watch, right? And just rotating people.
I can just sleep in the chair next to the fire.
Brenner
Before we
has-
sleep, I noticed Samantha leave the door during the conversation.
You did notice that.
She walked right by me, and so did her captain. I leered at him, and he leered at me.
You leer at Evan Spanbauer. He gives you the cut of a drunk, arrogant military guy.
We can say prick. It's okay.
He's a prick. Samantha is no better, Ada, as she gives you an icy glare as she walks by, and you watch as she walks outside. She did, in fact, just leave out the front door. You notice that no one else in your party seems to have picked up on this, as they're too busy fighting with each other.
I'm gonna peek outside to see if she's still here.
Roll perception.
"21.
She's out there leaning against the outside of the structure, and now that you think about it, she was traveling without a bedroll.
I am going to go up to her.
You, without going to the... Actually, we'll do it. Let's go... Hold on.
Okay.
Hold that thought. You have the action, Ada.
I'll walk right up to her. I'll make sure my hands are visible, as if I'm coming in peace. Symbolically.
She is sitting down. She is almost supine. Her back is up against the outside of the structure here. Her sword is sitting next to her, and she looks exhausted, like she's about to fall asleep, sitting up, wearing her armor. She opens one eye and studies you.
Samantha, I know it's been a long night. We paid for beds. Why don't you take mine? That armor has to take far more of a wear on the body than my cloak. I don't mind it.
Roll persuasion.
$13.
Why would you do me this courtesy?
Why would I do this courtesy? I don't know. I'm just feeling it, to be honest. And I think you could use the rest more than anybody in this building.
Which bed's yours? Or you didn't figure that out yet?
We didn't figure it out. We just paid for 5. Nothing gold, I'm sure. We'll stay outside, and I will as well. It is all right.
She sighs heavily, stands up, and walks back past you. This time, as you pass, instead of an icy glare, she gives you a curt,
The bro nod.
professional, exactly, a professional nod, as if she is acknowledging who you are. She walks past you, and you are left alone out here with the horses and the lightning bugs.
I'll stand by the door and linger with the first moment I've had to myself in a week.
You revel in the solitude.
Given the understanding that there were not enough beds, Brenner, already inebriated and on the way to rest, had pushed Sala to the side of her bed and has crawled into it. An action that seems to have been replicated many times over the years, drunken in an inn together.
You do so. You snuggle up with this muscular tiefling. She's warm and she snores. It's not so bad. Describe other evening arrangements. There was talk of a watch. There was talk of people sleeping outside. Please update me.
So when the conversation goes to watch, Nothing Gold will basically explain that she has these tiny servants posted around, and they will last until the dawn, and they've been instructed to come and wake people up should they notice some danger.
Convenient.
And there was supposed to be one that Yoros put somewhere, but that should probably go wherever you're sleeping. And then she will want to sleep outside, as Ada said.
Okay. Allow me to move Nothing Gold outside. While I do that, if you're staying inside, please arrange yourself in a bed, as Brenner has.
Taldred is also going to be going outside.
One moment, Mr. Talton. If you are staying inside, Lissa Gasmere, I've got you in the west room. Yoros and Ada. Ada's going outside. Yoros, are you making other arrangements? Or where do you take your long rest, if you take one? Or what is your intention?
I'm just chilling at the counter for now.
You just chill at the counter for now, watching Tony finish up the last of his bar cleanup for the night.
Are both rooms open, or did we just get beds in the west room?
You got beds in both rooms. This is a hostel type situation where the beds are interspersed amongst people. You may need to sleep amongst strangers. Have you ever slept in a hostel before? You're about to. Should you choose to. Other options would be sleeping outside. I suppose you could stay up all night.
I'll eventually retire to the center bed in the right room.
The middle bed in the east room.
It's not taken.
That's noted. It doesn't seem to be. Checking in on people outside. Please describe your intent.
Taldred's gonna sleep in the cart.
I'm gonna turn Taldred around.
You got
Taldred.
what now? What?
I don't mean to be the mother here, but you are run ragged. Please take a bed.
I'm going to sleep in the cart.
I'll take the cart. It's okay. I need some quiet to study my book anyway. I think you'll have a better rest inside of an inn.
I can understand why you'd think that, but it's a full moon out tonight.
Fair enough. I'll take your bed then. Are you sure? I want you spry and tip-top. You weren't exactly the happiest patron inside.
It's too warm in there. It's much better out here.
All right, fair enough.
Taldred, you successfully resist being turned around. Nothing gold. Taldred is setting up in the cart. Tell me about your intentions, and then I have some questions about your tiny servants.
I think that she has like a hammock situation that she sort of just drapes between branches, close to where the horses are hanging out.
How elegant. You set up your hammock between two of these low-lying trees. You feel at home here. You are surrounded by a bit of forest, and you can hear insects, birds, even bats in your vicinity throughout the night. Tell me about your tiny servants.
So these are the gold coins that look like little butterflies. There was one so there are two posted outside on opposite corners. So one looking west, the other looking east up that road. And there's one, well, it was tucked into Taldred's
That's
robe,
right.
I think. So it's now in the cart, but they last 8 hours. As long as nothing gold's within 600 feet. Let me double check, actually.
It's 120. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, yes.
Carefully noted.
We
What
haven't-
what I'm not sure is whether they can communicate back and forth. I don't think they do that, so I imagine if they do detect something, it will be physically, like they will physically come and rouse. I know that she can telepathically command them, but I'm not sure if she gets anything back.
I agree. I think that's, what do you call that, where you have a system where you can only send inputs and you get no outputs? I forget. It's like a carburetor. Anyway.
Diode.
No, there's some name for like the systemic thing. But yeah, a diode is a great example. Anyway, I agree with you looking at the spell description that it cannot communicate back to you. But I will say, if this is acceptable, having used these for years, potentially, that it could flip itself over. It's a coin. It would make a very distinct sound for you that could almost be like an alarm.
Yes, exactly. That's the intent.
You await. So if I understand this correctly, let me go through everybody. Let's make sure I know what everybody's doing. Okay. Brenner Oswick, in bed with Solivance. Lissa Gasmere, in a bed in the West Room. Euros and Ada. Are you guys on? No, you're not. Here we go. Euros and Ada. Where do you take your long rest? Ada, South Bed, West Room, noted.
Is it
And
actually-
Say,
I'd like to wake up an hour before the dawn, effectively, which would effectively be the last watch.
you wake up 1 hour before the dawn, is that correct?
Yeah, I want to take the last watch equivalently. I want to make sure. I think that everyone's too drunk and tired to make a run for it, but I want to kind of guard the door to make sure some paladins don't slip out during the morning.
Noted. You're watching for the paladins to slip out. We'll come back to you, Ada Worthware. Euros, go
Is
ahead.
it actually a full moon tonight?
It is, actually.
It would have been great if it wasn't, and Ada just doesn't even bother check. She's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Just let's go anyways.
I thought it was proverbial.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question regarding the moon?
Yes.
Where, if anywhere, do you take your long rest?
If it's a full moon, I'm probably gonna go sleep out in the trees.
Okay, one moment.
Euros is so restless.
Yeah.
Euros, please arrange yourself.
Like you get drunk and you wake up on somebody's lawn, but he gets drunk and he wakes up in a fucking tree.
Yeah. Well, there's just trees up here. I figured he would just go under a tree and, with his passive, he would just sleep with invisibility in the darkness under the moon.
You are embraced by the shadows, sleeping outside amongst the trees. It might be hard to get a good night's rest doing this, Euros. Is it worth it for you?
Yes.
Okay. A number of things occur. One, as you sleep, Selune, the moon, moves across the sky pleasingly. If you are outside, you are bathed in moonlight. The white light of the moon illuminates the little vineyard. The last person on watch, Ada Worthware, who woke up an hour before the dawn. Roll perception.
My roll 20 is crashing. Can somebody roll on my behalf +5?
20.
Is that 20? This is
It's a not natural. It's
Okay.
+5.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification. Ada Worthware, you detect something. You're watching the paladins. You wake up before the dawn. It is dark, and you are watching for the paladins to leave the east room. From the east room, you hear snoring. From the west room, you see someone else getting up early. You see a slender, leather-clad human rogue gathering her things and leaving. She slips out the door before you can really stop her, Ada. And she gives you a impish, satisfied little smile. Everyone outside, please roll perception.
Well,
12.
You
23.
Euros. You sleep well, or as well as you can, nestled in the shadows of the trees. Taldred Talton, you sleep well, as well as you can, perched in the cart. Nothing gold. You are sleeping well. And then you hear and see something. you see Ari mounting the middle horse. She confidently mounts it and starts to untie it from the hitching post.
I think she sort of starts awake, hearing the activity of the horses, and then sort of climbs down from her hammock and, blinking blarily and kind of stretching and yawning, comes up and approaches Ari.
You yawn and prepare for the day, and she rides off. Nothing gold, roll insight.
"24.
Something's not right here. The party awakens to the glory of the sun on September 5th, here on the Prime Material Plane. Lathander. What?
Give me an extra hour.
Say again?
Yours is sleeping in.
Got it. Lathander blesses sunny mornings like this. The air is still chilly. Autumn winds are blowing outside the window. The gales of the astral plane are blowing across the faces of a dozen Githyanki somewhere, and the same breeze fails to cool the temper of the Red Knight. Give me one moment. Actually, this is going to take me a couple moments. Do we want to? Why don't we take our fiver now? How's that sound? See you guys in 5 minutes.
Bird up.
Bird up.
You talking again?
What?
Okay, you sound fine now. It sounded almost like you were on the wrong microphone.
Oh. Mayhaps it's because I was talking to the side.
Could be.
Oh, could be. Let's also lean back a good bit.
Lean back. So who got stabbed?
What do you mean?
You got nothing gold spider senses tingling, an assassin slipping away in the morning.
Oh, I don't know. Yoros just likes the full moon.
She better not go kill Forbes.
That'd be cool.
I don't think that's her target. At least I'd hope not. But yeah, that's 100% the armor.
Yeah, the oh yes. I honestly considered getting it.
It's real strong.
Because that would be very. Honest to God, literally anybody in the party could use it.
Not me.
Oh. Well, I guess you guys never take your armor off, so I guess so.
Yeah.
You guys have armor?
Yeah. You guys have
Allegedly.
magic?
All of my armor is in that fucking cracked shield. It kind of balances out. Having level 1 plate mail versus like a level 17 shield.
I like how the shield basically has like Toldred written on it. It's like when you heal someone, and we're like, fuck that balance.
It's actually not when you heal someone. It's you heal personally when you make a saving throw, or you take damage that you're resistant to, or that you make an attack of opportunity.
Okay, so
was-
maybe it's not so bad on you.
If it was boost your healing.jpg,
That's what I thought
shield,
it was.
that would be cracked. This is more like the don't die when taking damage shield.
I got the eye. I have the best item currently, so
Oh,
I'm
that thing
already-
is so cracked.
+3. Like, jeez.
That on top of your deal double damage on turn 1 is also very strong.
Yeah, both of those might be coming in handy real fast here.
Yeah.
Don't
was-
worry about it.
I was joking about who got stabbed.
Okay, now I'm worried about it. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
I think I have to set my spells. Let me do that now.
Yeah, I've got to
Ooh,
set
that's a
my
good point.
calisthenics in the morning.
My goal is going to be to just like take one fireball and just constantly uprank it to never lose the spell slot of fireball.
Just gonna spirit bomb someone.
What do you have to? Spirit bomb?
Just fireball things.
This cranberry wine's really good, by the way.
I just went downstairs and I was looking for like a drink for the break, and I thought about pouring a glass of wine. I gazed at the bottle, but instead I just made another cup of coffee.
The partisan's choice.
It's all right. We'll wind it up next week.
Patrician? That's the word. Sorry.
It's like Civ Fridays all over again.
Indeed. Did Frample just call me a patrician?
I did. I actually called you a partisan at first.
With
My
the
words are
spear.
getting jumbled.
Why not both?
Did you just pour Pelos Dos?
I did.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
You know, I still have a scroll of counterspell. I could put that in the ring of contingency. Ooh, that actually sounds
Seems-
really good.
Seems useful. You'll have to have a relevant contingency set up for it, though.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Cantrips cast.
It has to be out of a scroll. Oh, cantrip is cast.
Yeah, the contingency is sees cantrip.
How about it's
Counterspells.
when Ada casts haste, so I can blame Yoros for counterspelling me again?
Yeah, it's fine. Just Isochron Scepter it, why don't you?
Yep.
Counter.
Counter every turn.
So I like how 90% of that sequence that we were in, it was just, it worked out because it wasn't combat or anything, but I was just outside the entire time. I was on the wrong map because it crashed in the background and just never updated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Githyanki are humanoids, I assume.
Yes, a Githyanki is humanoid, but can you tell me more about what is there like a spell in particular that's
Yeah. I'm looking at Forbiddance.
forbiddance?
Forebodings?
Nope. It's one I've been considering for a while.
Very interesting.
Isn't it?
If this combat goes sideways, we are going to be in trouble.
Welcome back. A couple questions. Firstly, Euros, you had a spare sword, Lament the Fleer, a magical short sword. Where would you keep that stowed at night?
Probably like behind me.
It's
I think it's best practice to like take the weapons off of your like waist and you just kind of like set them up behind you, like when you're laying down. They're like sitting up behind your back or something.
you have your weapons arranged that way. As you sleep, you keep them stored behind you. When you wake up, that short sword is gone. Nothing gold. Where do you keep your pack at night?
In the cart with Taldred.
Would you get it in the morning?
Yeah, she would go look for it.
Your pack feels light when you pick it up, and the contents are not arranged as you expected them to be. You hear a voice. If you're outside, you hear this voice from the inside. If you're inside, you hear this voice echoing through the small vineyard. It's Evan Spanbauer. He yells, "Where the fuck is my horse?" And give me 1 second to get you guys reset up here.
So I do have a question about that. So I have the one with shadows passive, and whenever I'm in dim light or lower, I'm invisible if I'm not moving. Would that apply to my equipment too, or no?
I don't think so. I don't think something that's disembodied from you, like your supplies or anything like that, would also be invisible.
Okay, makes sense.
Forgive me, having map concerns. Forgive me. Okay. You've been haphazardly arranged here inside. If you're somewhere else, please move yourselves. Please make sure that this looks okay before we initiate the action being with the party. I see we have 2 Lissa gas mirrors. Our gas mirror doubler is fully operational.
Oh, no.
Everyone good inside? That is gas mirror, Brenner, Ada. Wonderful. How about outside? Nothing gold, Euros, Taldred. Arranged okay? Taldred, there's a horse missing. The action is with the party. Inside, Evan Spanbauer has lost his temper. Outside, from inside, you can hear yelling. You have a feeling that some of your items might be missing.
Brenner rolls out of bed, proceeds to start to pat himself down. In particular, his pocket, to ensure that he still has the portal key, the most important thing that he would have.
It's still in your pocket, thankfully. You wonder if this item may appear to be mundane to someone who is quickly rifling through your things.
Relieved, he enters the foyer to see how the rest of the party is faring.
Spanbauer is telling Samantha, there's no fucking way I'm walking all the way to Suzale.
No, he's coming along. Right on the cart.
He's too angry to pay any attention to this, Brenner.
That's fine.
You feel
You ate it. He
I
pats
hold
his
up my
pockets.
book. This is all I need.
your spellbook is still there. How about outside? How's everyone doing?
Soldier hears the commotion and heads inside.
Nothing gold. Euros, you feel a sense of somebody doing something particularly indelicate to you, taking your things.
Well, Yoro slept in an hour, right?
Yep.
I have a feeling that the commotion may wake him up. Or maybe you are. Are you sleeping through this? You tell me.
I'll wake up.
Don't feel...
Grudgingly.
You...
Wait, so did
Good.
Taldred have anything stolen from him?
It doesn't seem that way, does it?
He is both relieved and insulted at the same time.
You pat yourself down. Someone definitely went through the cart, but none of your objects seem missing, from what you can tell.
Wow.
You arrive in the front room, Taldred.
One moment. Can I
Okay.
do like an insight check? Because I feel like I see what's happening here.
What do you... Go ahead.
One moment.
Speculate about the fate of the prime material plane. Let's hear it.
Got a 7. Don't think much about it. Just relieved, I guess.
You're just relieved. You choose not to put two and two together. You would rather be blind to the truth.
Yoros, do you have everything?
Hold on, I'm still strapping it up. No.
What are you missing?
My short sword.
What was special about it?
I don't remember. I never got to use it.
You have something that will let you talk to people, right?
A mouth, yes.
Can I borrow that?
My mouth?
The thing.
What thing?
Okay, you know how Forbes has something that lets him talk to us?
Yes.
I saw Brenner borrow something from you so that he could talk to his people.
His people? Yes.
Can I borrow that?
What is it?
I mean, you don't know what the sword was, so I don't know why I have to tell you what this thing is.
I will begrudgingly hand it over the stone. Why can you guys not remember what a stone is?
Can she contact Forbes with it?
You can try. Holding this stone, you have the ability to cast the message spell, and your message spell reaches the political boundaries of which you currently inhabit. You wonder about the implications of this nothing gold. Will you be able to contact Walter Forbes? I suppose there's only one way to find out.
What the fuck does a dryad think about political boundaries? Forbes!
You reach out across the plain. You call for Walter Forbes. You wonder where your words are going.
Alright. I'm not getting anything back. Is this broken?
No.
Hang on, will you turn around?
Why?
I want to test something. Please just turn around.
Okay, I will turn around.
She'll duck around the building and then message Yoros. Hello, is this thing on?
Euros. A voice echoes in your head. It's nothing gold. You don't remember her being quite so loud.
You've reached the wrong brain. Please leave a message.
Oh, I would, but I don't think you'd remember it.
Correct.
Okay, alright. What about that guy? She comes back from around the building. What about that guy from Prime Material? Do I have to know his name?
It helps.
Do I have to?
No. I mean, basically, if you can envision the person and you know the general direction, it should be able to reach them. But
Alright, guy from Prime Material. Are you awake?
You cast your questions about what is his name? about whether or not he's awake. You're not sure where your words have landed, Nothing Gold.
Why is nobody talking to me but you?
Checking back on the inside of Alistrath's old vines. How are things going in here? Samantha is talking her captain down from the precipice of anger. Taldred, Ada, Brenner.
I saw that shifty one leave sometime in the morning before you all woke up.
Lissa Gasmer, you walk into the foyer as Ada starts on this thought.
What exactly is going on?
You're robbed. You alright? Should pat yourself down.
Yes, I do seem to be alright. Who was robbed? When?
You can tell that Brenner's not the most of a morning person. He tries to explain. Horse? Horse was stolen.
Ada Worthware. Samantha and Evan's eyes settle on you. Taldred. Evan shoulders you out of the way on his way to confront Ada. Samantha tilts her head and says, "Isn't it curious? You asked me to come inside. And it seems like this created an opportunity. Do you know anything about this?"
I don't. And I don't like the implication. It sounds like this was a poor situation. We didn't post a watch. We should have. We were all too drunk and stupid.
When you say stupid, Evan crosses his arms.
We definitely put back too much wine, that's for sure.
It does rather seem like there is one person missing. So, Samantha, would it not be prudent to suspect that person?
Aye, it's easy enough to see who left with the horse. However, I can't help but think that the lot of you that were talking to her are probably in on it.
I have a zone of truth, okay? Would you like me to cast it so we can go through the motions?
We
So you
didn't
can be
fucking take your
humbled.
horse.
Obviously,
We didn't take your horse.
obviously you didn't take the horse. You're standing right there. Surely you see my point as well. I now am very suspicious of the courtesy that you offered me.
That we brokered your captain's horse away in the middle of the night in a drunken rampart with some lady we don't even know? Yeah,
You
I'm
know-
really following.
You know, it's really funny. I saw that one who I've warned you about talking to her at length.
Yeah, I asked her to figure out what she was about. I never heard. We should go talk.
Taldred is casting a spell.
Taldred is casting a spell. You summon the power of the Celdrine to cast.
It takes 10 minutes. So it's going to be a while.
It takes 10 minutes.
Ritual.
Nope, it just takes 10 minutes to cast.
Fair enough. Why don't we go outside and talk to people, okay? We don't have to
Fine.
fight this early in the morning. I understand your horse is missing. I would be pissed too. I get it.
Evan looks like he's about to speak, but then says nothing. Fine, let's go outside.
Let's.
Brenner pokes his head back in and tries to waken Sala if she is outside.
She has a dreamy grin on her face, but rolls over, clutching the blanket to her face.
Alright.
Ada, you watch as when Evan walks past Erin, he shoves her out of the way a little bit. The elderly spellcaster gasps in air and says, "My," but otherwise does nothing. If you're planning on attending this summit outside, please position yourselves by the door. One moment. You find yourselves greeted by the morning dawn. There are birds.
think-
Go ahead.
As soon as a Nothing Gold sees people coming out, she's like yelling, but then she very subtly puts the rock down and puts it away.
I will immediately look at you and whistle at you. Just give it back.
Give what back?
The rock.
There's plenty of rocks around here.
My rock.
I'll give you your special rock back later.
I'm glad the two of you are acting like 5-year-olds this early in the morning, but there is something rather urgent.
Yes, I know. I am missing 7,000 gold.
Oh. Does seem like a problem.
I'll shoot a glance at Samantha and Spanbauer and be like,
They are investigating the horse troughs and where you assume his horse was tied off. Evan looks at you and grits his teeth, Ada, and says, "No one cut it." You give him a dumbfounded grin, and he sticks his face forward. "No one heard this?"
Brenner looks back over to the party that was obviously outside all night. Someone ran off with his horse. Did you see it?
Yes,
No, I was asleep.
Yes, you saw it?
I did, yes. It just happened. It was, I don't know what to tell you. Ari?
"You lost your horse? I think that's worth less than 7,000 gold. Drop the tough act. It sucks. I'm sorry. We can't get it back unless you want us to run after her."
Why were you carrying so much gold?
I'm a merchant. Fuck you. What are you...
She's clearly not anymore, so that concern can leave your mind.
Here's the bigger problem. Yoros is also missing a sword.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it was the short sword, not the long one. Kind of confused why, but it is what it is.
Samantha and Evan both touch their hips instinctively to make sure their swords are still there.
We
So, this person with a dagger, a sword, 7,000 gold, a full commission schedule is headed to Arabel.
I'm sorry, I never talked to her. What is her intent? Other than robbing us?
Yes, to explain, what does this full commission schedule mean exactly?
Well, I thought she was talking about information.
Clearly not.
Evidently, she's a common thief.
I think that she is capitalizing on the fact that we're not in Arabel.
Would she have robbed us in Arabel? What's stopping her?
She seems she only robbed some of us. How exactly did she know to target the ones that have something particularly valuable?
It's probably because we were outside and it was just easy. Whereas everybody else was crammed in the rooms.
I saw her
Is it-
sneak out, but she was a little bit too fast for me.
In either case, nothing from
anyone-
inside was stolen, right?
Yes, was
Okay.
anybody who's indoors missing anything? Because I seem to have all my things.
What answers it? Don't sleep outside. We bought the beds. What's wrong with you people?
It's a full moon.
Great.
Both of the Purple Dragon Knights are inventorying their items.
In either case, across the table, these two horses here, do I recognize them?
Roll animal handling.
So many, Tad? 14.
You don't think so.
Okay. In either case, we all have business in Suzale. Morning's early. You can ride on the cart. We can find you a horse there. Unless you're really particular about that one.
Spanbauer winces a bit, as if he is not used to this type of courtesy being bestowed upon him. You get a sense that he may have a hard time walking. He nods at you, Brenner, as if to accept it quietly. Back inside. One moment. Moving outside, people outside. Taldred Talton, you remain here. Elias Kitt, who you know to be Brenner Oswick's second in command, is eating breakfast.
Taldred tells him, "Put that down. Give me a moment."
He puts his fork down, leaving it sitting in a mountain of eggs.
Taldred
Yes?
just, it'll be ready soon, okay?
He tilts his head and shrugs. Can I keep eating then?
I wouldn't.
He looks over his shoulder as if he's looking to see, perhaps, where Brenner is. Back outside.
I would like to poke my head back inside, which will delete me from the sequence, but next time we're inside.
You carefully excise yourself from this sequence, dipping inside. Everyone outside, it seems you've convinced Evan Spanbauer to ride in the cart. Samantha seems eager to keep moving.
Nothing Gold will follow Ada inside as well.
You follow Ada Worthware back inside Alistrath's old vines.
While the party is intermingling themselves within the inn, Brenner's probably going to tend to the cart to ensure that it is ready to ride as soon as we're ready to go.
You spend time preparing the cart for the journey. The horses seem to be in good health and are eager to keep moving. You notice that the patch of grass underneath where they were for most of the night has been picked at just a bit.
Brenner also finds itself certainly relieving that somebody actually had the foresight to water them before we went to bed.
Here, inside, Taldred Talton, you are waiting for something. Ada and Nothing Gold, you appear.
Nothing Gold will sort of tap at Ada's elbow, if she can be interrupted before she immediately heads off. I'm using the stone, and she's just miming it to try to talk to Forbes, and it's not working, but it is working when I talk to Yoros.
He probably has a range restriction. Can I see it?
Yeah, she'll take it out and pass it over to Ada.
I'll inspect it, and I assume I can read the description of the item inherent in my inspection.
Correct.
It seems like we are no longer in the political affiliation of Arabel. Our actions in Arabel caused it not to be in the same nation we're in. It's an independent state now.
Well, that's rather inconvenient, but I don't know, what does that mean? Is that bad? Is that good?
I think it's good.
Okay.
Subjective. For whoever you were trying to reach, probably bad. I have a person you could call. Maybe somebody you were talking to last night. I'll shove the rock back in her hand. And I'll turn on my heel.
Okay, can we say it's been 10 minutes now?
It's been 10 minutes now, Taldred Talton.
Taldred calls out. He goes, "Hey, Tony,
Hey!
eat your fucking heart out." And he slams his hands on the table and there is a blinding light. And when it is gone, there is a massive fucking feast on the table, the likes of which no one in this room has ever seen, as Taldred casts Hero's Feast.
You summon a resplendent feast for the ages. There are, or what are there? Racks of ribs. Is
There's like
it
a whole
breakfast
fucking
themed?
turkey, a whole boar, fucking dragon meat. There's racks of ribs. There's the finest cheeses you've ever seen.
You summon this summoned food from beyond the world. A creature that partakes of the feast gains several benefits. The creature is cured of all diseases and poison, becomes immune to poison and being frightened, and makes all wisdom saving throws with advantage. Its hit point maximum also increases by 2d10, and it gains for the same number of hit points. These benefits last for 24 hours. You do
Quite
so.
buff.
The smell of it's a 6-level spell.
Wounds.
You summon this into existence. If you are inside, you observe a magical feast being brought into the world. Tony says, "Whoa! Hey, maybe you should stay here with me."
Maybe I'll consider it.
Second job as a barback? Waiter? Maitre d'?
He goes, Tony, one day I'm going to own this place, all right?
He smiles at you. Maybe you will. Other denizens of the party. Nothing gold. Ada. Anything inside. Anything happening outside.
Yeah, I would like to check on the lady who got smashed by the captain.
You...
Bumped.
Brenner will be with you in 1 second. Just let me know. Sorry. Ada Worthware. Erin seems a little roughed up, if not physically, then mentally. You check on her. She says... Go ahead.
To sit down with her and hold her hand and ask her if she's okay.
Yeah, you sit down with her and show her a bit of tenderness. She exhorts to you. That man, I don't know why he did something like that. Why would anyone do anything like that? I had no quarrel with him.
I know, he's just rude. I'm so sorry.
He didn't even say anything, not even excuse me. I don't trust somebody who never talks.
Well, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to make sure you're okay.
She nods her head quickly. Thank you. You sense sincerity in her voice.
I'll talk to him for you.
Brenner Oswick, you were about to do something.
I was, but I was also just calling out Ada. I assume at this point Brenner is, while unhitching the horses, he'll probably tie it back. I assume the smell of this hero's feast wafts out the windows, or at the very least he can see it.
Oh, absolutely. From outside, you can see a unmistakable array of magical dishes and the accoutrements that go with them that defy the imagination. There are fruits you cannot name. There are meats you cannot identify, but yet for some reason you still want to eat them.
Brenner ties the horses back up, turns back on heel, looking to the cast that are still outside. Looks like our well-haired one has provided something to liven the mood. Perhaps we should find ourselves back inside before we make our journey. You might be a little bit impressed, I sure am, as he's already on the way inside the...
Yes, it does rather smell like breakfast is served. Gasmere heads inside as well.
You walk through the front door of Alistras Old Vines, being overwhelmed suddenly by the smell of whatever that is that overwhelms the table.
She does call out over her shoulder to the Samantha and Spanbauer as well. I'm sure the invitation includes the two of you as well, should you find yourselves hungry.
They look at each other and you hear something. Lissa Gastmere. You hear Spanbauer, I won't do it. He hawks and then spits on the ground. Here inside, the faces are a bit more pleasant. You see Ada giving comfort to Aaron Shashnok in the corner. You see Elias Kitt abandoning his tired eggs forever. He shoves them out of the way and tells Tony to forget about charging him for breakfast. The actions with the party.
Brenner immediately is sitting across the table from Taldrin. My man.
Taldrin shoots him with finger guns.
Mr. Talton. Very impressive.
Thank you, Lady Gastamere.
Technically, Lady Gastmere is my mother, but she sits down.
Brenner's already thinking.
Taldrin actually takes some, and he sits at the bar, so he can make way if anyone else wants to get in.
I do have a question. Do you choose whatever you wish to create, or is this something that's a preference of your god?
Taldrin thinks about it for a moment. He's like, I could see it. I could smell it.
Oh, so you do control it.
Somewhat.
Interesting.
I'm not complaining.
Make sure you guys take your 2d10 hit points.
Why don't you roll the 2d10, and anyone who eats it, that way we have a single unified. You gain X HP from eating Taldrin's
You
feast.
gain 14.
These are temp HP, right?
Yep, for 24 hours.
Okay.
Actually, I don't think this is temp. It says its hit point maximum increases.
Oh, that's different. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So for 24 hours, you have a 14 more hit points maximum. That's what the spell says.
That's true. That is what it's. Yes. So please track. Obviously, keep track of your original HP total. But yes, for 24 hours until your next long rest, you gain 14 max HP, not temp HP.
So about this time, the door to the inn will slam open, and Yoros will lean in, sniffing, and you will catch a glimpse of the feast.
Euros, you smell and sense this food that Taldrin has summoned from nothingness.
I'll quickly make my way over to it.
How are you still hungry?
How are you
Ask
not?
Questions.
Almost offended by this. Brenner is pointing at the table.
This guy ate 3 bowls of. Never mind. You know, it's fine.
During this spat between everyone, Brenner is piling up extra plates in an attempt to bring it to anyone that has not brought themselves to the table, as if to force it upon them.
Including your companion who is in bed. Do you help Saul have breakfast in bed? What about the
He
older?
would, yeah.
What about the older spellcasters?
Brenner would ask on the way through, at 2 plates in hand at this point.
They
For everybody?
they
He
happily
nudges
take
towards the
them.
old people.
They happily take them right out of your hand.
It's
What
12
about
people? So I think that's for everybody.
what about Brenner? Tony Lamartino. Do you offer him food in his own domicile?
It's not really his to offer. He was looking directly to Taldrin again. He just points to Tony.
Taldrin just waves on anything Brenner says.
He just points directly back to the table, looking at Tony. You're free to go for it.
Tony helps himself. The older spellcasters help themselves. The only thing that's missing are the 2 purple dragon knights, and soon you watch as Evan walks over to the window and taps on it 3 times with his gauntlet. It's almost hard enough to shatter the glass, but not quite. He points south.
Brenner will approach the window with another plate in hand. Is the window open?
This window does not open.
He just holds it up to the window as if to push it towards it.
He gives you a glance that suggests that if he knew prestidigitation, he would toss your plate aside.
He just shrugs and sits back down.
You're wasting this courtesy. I already offered them a meal and they declined it.
As Tony told me last night, that is extremely rude.
What, to decline food or not accept it?
Oh,
To decline food that somebody made for you.
Yes. And without manners, we truly are animals.
So is there like a weird purple knight thing where they just can't accept niceties?
and despite the fact that they're riding on our cart, I don't think we've made fast friends. Probably for the best.
Did you feed nothing gold instead?
I figured that while pushing around the plates, Brenner probably had tried to produce one for nothing gold if she was in the same room with Stella. You gonna eat?
Should I start calling her half gold?
Nothing gold has like, she's like flat to the floor looking underneath the beds, and she tilts her head up as Brenner comes in and says, "Oh, do you have meat?"
Yep. It's just got a plate of overflowing meats.
Yeah, put it down there. I'll get to it. Do you
Brenner kinda-
remember which bed she was in last night?
I was way too drunk. I think she was in here, but it's dark. Brenner kind of begrudgingly puts this beautiful plate of food on the floor. You see that this is somewhat upsetting to him. You looking for something?
I mean, it's unlikely that she left anything behind, but one could hope that she forgot something, right?
Yeah, like a calling card?
Roll investigation.
Here, why don't you help me? Go toss the beds.
Brenner will begrudgingly assist. I assume this is just in the 8 action.
Yes, I'll make it with advantage. A 9.
You only find one thing. A single brown hair.
She twirls it around her finger like a little ring.
You do so, and you feel a bit twirled yourself.
In the disarray of the blanket, Brenner turns on heel, looks straight at. I did find something. He points at the floor with the plate. Just eat.
All right.
I assume we take our time to consume this hour's worth of buff food.
Are we really bringing them to Suzail?
Yeah, why are we going to Suzail?
Well, we need to go to Suzail, but I thought Forbes and Paul asked us to return Samantha.
Yeah. Why are we going to Suzelle? Across the
Said
table.
Forbes told me to.
It seems a bit of a conflict of interest to both bring her back and also go to Suzelle. I think we can do both things.
It's probably on the assumption she would have made it to Suzelle by now.
Walking? No.
I think, much like me, he probably assumed, like a sane person traveling to Suzelle, she brought a horse. She did.
It's just that, I'm not sure we really talked her out of her turn us into the Zent plan, and we seem to be delivering her to the person that she made all of that plans with.
I don't think we did either. But everybody here seemed to agree on the fact that we should take her alive, put her on the cart, force me into making her my ward.
I didn't agree to any of that.
Well,
Brenner, in the sobriety of this next morning, this does feel a bit flimsy. You do feel a bit as if you are shoveling coal into the fire. As this thought occurs to you, you hear on the window once again.
he looks over, shrugs, displays a plate that is likely at this point rather finished, and holds up one finger.
I'm gonna poke my head out and
I-
make
yeah.
sure they're just talking about the road.
Yeah, Taldred says, make sure they don't take off with the cart. I'm a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I'll walk outside with what's left on my plate.
Ada Worthware. You arrive in sunny, beautiful Cormyr.
Well, as you can see, the group is finishing up breakfast and we will leave right afterward.
They look at each other and then look at you. Samantha narrows her eyes and just looks at you and says, "How long does it take you all to eat breakfast?"
I don't understand the rush. We should be fed and rested for the road. It's a dangerous trip. Do you not agree?
I fail to see how danger encourages your profligacy.
Okay, we are going to eat and we will leave when we are finished. If you would like to leave early, don't. I think you will find traveling with us is faster than whatever impatience that you have. So please wait 5 minutes for us to finish our food and we can all leave together.
5 minutes. Okay.
It was an expression. We have had a long combat-filled week, and I am sure that is not going to end, especially with present company included. I think it's prudent that we're all fully rested and at full strength for whatever idiocy is on the road in front of us. We seem to be a magnet for problems, and I don't think you two are any different.
Is this what it takes for you to feel well rested? Eating for several hours in the morning, summoning
Apparently.
great feasts.
Have you ever never prepared before going into battle? Okay. Well, there's food inside if you want it. Otherwise, we'll be done when we're done.
Taldred walks outside at this moment with his plate in hand.
You do so.
Yeah. He says, I'll take over here.
I'll
And
nod.
he just leans against the wall and eats as he looks at them. Doesn't say a fucking thing.
You passive-aggressively eat at the Purple Dragon Knights. They spend a couple minutes finishing the last of what you can assume were dried rations, hard bread, tack. They wash it all down with thin metal canteens, a bit like yours. Ada, were you heading inside?
I was gonna make sure there wasn't anything exciting, and then yes, go back inside.
There's no obvious conflict. They don't attack Taldred, yet at least. You find yourself back inside.
At this point, I think Brenner's probably cleaning his plate, places it back down on the table, circles around to Elias. You didn't bring horses, did you? Are those yours or are those the old people's?
He gestures toward the spellcasters. They rode in with them. They told me that they just rode here from Immersea.
I did ask for the fastest, I guess. And a cavalryman with an Ohio horse, as he clasps on his shoulder. Weird.
When you try to walk away, he clamps down on your shoulder. He grabs you and says, "You know, Brenner, I wish you wouldn't say things like that. Don't you feel a bit like you abandoned us and now you have issues with how we turn up?"
Well, dark morning for such a nice meal, buddy.
I felt the same way, but I don't know why you said that just now. Do you think that I would ever let you down?
No.
Do you not want us to travel with you?
I do. I was just clarifying if the horses outside were yours or mine. In terms of abandoning you, I put all of my faith in you.
Jasmine
You're my
elbows Euros and tries to make Euros pay attention to this conversation taking place behind him as well.
At this point, Brenner is looming over Elias, like a very stern and upset father. And you question that.
You adopt a paternal disposition as you lecture Elias that you have always been there for him and always will be. Euros, you feel Gastmir's bony elbow in your ribs, and when you look over, you see that she is gesturing toward the conversation that Brenner is laying on Elias.
More than anything, the mission that I left you for, I'm not willing to risk any of your fucking lives for it. This is a fool's errand. I know it all too well. I asked you here because that bitch outside puts ourselves in a position where the safety of the realm is at bay. If I die on this mission, he's going to be the problem that sets you next to the grave. That's why I called you here.
He takes a moment to digest the gravity of what you just said and then nods slowly. As you say, Ironmane.
Finish up. We're going on. Hard morning.
He opens his mouth to talk, but you quickly silence him, and he silently turns around to finish eating.
Brenner, in a brusque, almost frustrated tone, enters his bedroom to gather his thing.
You pass by Sala, who slaps your ass as she goes by with an open hand.
He pauses for a moment, and angry dad in him kind of washes away a little bit.
She winks at you. Gasmir and Euros, you observe that one of the Oswick bannermen, a muscle-bound tiefling, sits down next to you and digs into Taldred's things. Outside, again, You see Spanbauer looming over the window, waiting.
Hey, Tony.
Hey,
That woman last night, Ari?
yeah. She
Does
paid.
she stay here often?
Not often. She stayed here before. She paid her tab, if that's what you're asking.
She stole a bunch of our shit.
Did she? Roll insight.
$18.
That didn't sound quite sincere to you. That sounded like faux surprise. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Does that happen often?
Whoa, what? The people are robbed? I mean, there's brigands on the road, but it almost never happens under my roof. I can't believe that someone would do that to you. He reaches out and almost gives you a patronizing clap on the shoulder. I can't afford a guard or anything like that, you know?
Yeah, it's odd that she didn't take anything from you.
There's not much to take, I suppose.
I don't know, looking at these bills, looking at everybody who's eaten here, I feel like you must have a pile of gold around here somewhere.
He looks at you, and you have a sense that you're in the same seat that Taldred was in when Taldred muscled him over, and you wonder if he's getting used to this in the worst kind of way. What are you trying to say?
I'm saying we could have been repeat customers. But your establishment doesn't seem very safe.
Well, you know, I noticed that some of you slept outside. I find that rather suspicious. There's lots of, I make no promises for what can happen on the road. There are highwaymen out there, bandits, that sort of thing. There's no guarantees about anything like that.
Tony.
Go ahead.
She leans in and like props her chin on her hand and goes, "Do you have a grift going?"
You are used to when you lean into people, they tend to lean in right back, right? Instead, he leans away. A grift? You think I'm a grifter? No. What? I can't believe you would say something like that. What a terrible impression I must have given you. That's not what I want you to tell your friends. How could you?
She didn't leave you anything?
Leave me what? Leave me something in her will? I don't think so.
Well, if I leave you something, will you give it to her the next time she passes by?
We're not running a messenger service here. Is there something in it for me?
I don't know.
Man's got to make a living. Ain't shit for free in my part of the world.
Yeah, but I don't think we've paid our bill yet.
He looks over his shoulder as if he's looking toward Taldred. You wouldn't walk out on a bill, would you? Is that the kind of person you are? Your friend threatens me with violence. You call me a grifter and refuse to pay for services consumed? Services rendered.
We got robbed of far more than we owe you.
I never promised you safety, and if you were robbed inside my house, I think I would have known.
Huh.
If you,
Interesting sort of deal you've got there.
I don't make deals with devils.
Oh, she's a devil now, is she?
He looks to his left at the tiefling sitting at his table eating Taldred's food. There's certainly something resembling devils afoot. Has nothing to do with me. You out of trouble. I hope you pay up.
Yeah. All right. She walks off.
You walk off. Tony lets an exasperated sigh out.
Brenner's headed outside.
Your bannermen accompany you.
Jasmine's going to finish off the meal as well. I head outside.
Yeah, I think it's time to go.
You summon everybody, with the exception of Euros. Still finishing things? Still working on it?
Finishing up and I'll head out.
One moment. You all walk out of the tavern together. You see Tony stick his head around the corner as if he's waiting to see if you'll really do this. He's muttering something to himself. You're sure that he's complaining about you, to put it lightly, under his breath. Samantha studies the scene. There's more of you than I remember.
You seeing double? They were all here last night.
He looks toward your bannerman.
They sat next to you and ate and drank.
What are they?
I introduced you.
Are they coming with us?
Oh yes, you'd put down more arms. Yes, they're coming with us.
Is your friend coming with us?
Aye. Why not? He's headed the same direction. I feel safer with him here. Who wouldn't?
The merrier, then.
Who wouldn't want to be escorted into the capital by a purple dragon knight? Two, no
Yes.
less.
We are honoured.
Something.
Taldred says, before we go, I would like to investigate a little something, considering the robbery last night.
Yes.
He turns to NG. How much gold are you down?
About 7,000.
Okay. Taldred takes out a gold coin between his fingers and he casts locate object.
One moment. You sense nothing.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine that's true. There's gold all around.
Well, you
gold
sense.
coins
I'm
around
sorry.
it.
You're totally right. You sense gold coins in people's pockets. You sense gold coins on Tony's person. You sense that in Tony's little manor off the map to the east here, that he must have a little stash of coins of his own. You sense coins in the cart in Nothing Gold's bag.
But nothing equal to the sum that I'm looking to find.
Correct. Yes. Thank you for clarifying.
Taldred says, okay, well, it's definitely not here.
She was looking for armor. She rode north, probably. This will cover her bills.
Did you pay Tony?
Should I?
I really wish you would.
Fine.
Yes, really do pay the man. We wish to be polite, do we not? Says Gasmere, having not looked at the bill for 1 second, having no idea how much that is. Just pay it.
Nothing Gold will sweep in after having made a detour to the cart to actually pick up the gold to Tony and says, You should remember the name Taldred Talton because this is the only reason I'm not running off on you.
Taldred Talton. I think I will remember that. That's a catchy name. What about yours?
Doesn't matter. She walks off.
How much do you pay Tony?
The full bill, which was 312, 315, short 3 gold.
You pay the man. He sweeps the gold pieces, a rather massive sum, across his side of the bar and collects it in a leather sack.
Taldred walks over to Ada, and he produces the postcards. He says, I want you to look at these.
Nod and take them.
You see some rather charming postcards. They must have been made in small batches. A relatively recent invention, the printing press, powers things like this.
Taldred says, is there anything magical about them at all?
I'll consider that. There's no item or visual for them. It's just theater of the mind.
They're in the manifest.
Yeah, they're in the party tab.
The party tab. Awesome. Ah. Do I need to make an Arcana roll for this?
Why don't you?
Why don't I? $15. I would be shocked.
You don't think correspondence can be magical? Ada
Not in
Worthware?
this day and age. Depicting Tony.
They seem rather mundane to you.
If this is magical, I'll eat my book.
Let's see. Taldred takes out a match and burns all of them.
You take out a match and ignite the charming postcards. They quickly ignite into flames. You now have burning postcards in your right hand.
I think I'm ready to get away from this place as fast as possible. What about everyone else?
Agreed.
Brenner's already unhitched the horses and is probably in the driver's seat.
Angie's gonna try one thing while she's off over here. She would like to try contacting Morris.
What do you send with your message spell?
Lady Morris, do we have to have this conversation in person?
You wait for a moment. You're reasonably confident that no answer will come back, and yet there it is, clear as day, a single word. No, 3 words. I'm afraid so.
She'll come to the cart with everybody.
Before you
I'm
get
going
the
to-
cart, I'm gonna grab nothing gold. Rock, please.
She hands it over.
Thank you.
I'm gonna find Brenner.
Find him atop the driver's seat, reins in hand.
I'm gonna do my best to gracefully go up there.
He'll hold a hand down to help you up if you want to be in
Perfect.
the shotgun.
Yes, I would. And I'm gonna say, quietly if I can, Brenner, I share your concerns about these two. I
Just
think
nod.
we've slept the night. I think our posture can be a little bit more aggressive now.
We're certainly outnumbered out in the middle of the road. Not the way I'd like to do it.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that we request more firmly that they don't stab us once we walk through the gates.
Agreed. And what a pastoral countryside to ask such questions in.
I think I would be nothing but overjoyed to see their faces when the Githyanki appear.
You can't tell at this point because his visor is down, but Brenner beams at this. It is today, right? We really should
Think
mark
so.
down a calendar for these things.
It feels like we've lived a month here.
You have an excellent system of mental organization. This system of mental organization yields a useful nugget for you. It is September 6th. You are reasonably confident that the Githyanki should appear 5 days after you met them on September 7th. You know that it is a couple days' travel from here to Suzail.
From Brenner's memory, what time of day was it when we exited the mine? When we actually contacted the Githyanki? That was probably pretty late in the day, was that not?
It was in the afternoon, going into the evening.
He mentions to Ada, it's probably an afternoon sort of a deal, if they're too tied up in their time.
Sounds good.
Is everybody ready? He calls out blanketly towards anyone not already on the cart or in the circle. Also, across the table, how many people can we fit on this cart?
You can rotate people in and out, giving people a chance to rest, interspersed with walking, thus increasing the overall speed of the party. You can have up to 4 people on at one point. You could have more, but it may not be comfortable. It's something that you could do under exigent circumstances, or if you wanted to smush people together a little bit, but comfortably sitting up with a little bit of personal space, 4 people.
And that is including the driver and the shotgun, correct?
That is correct. That is
Okay.
inclusive of those 2 people. You, it sounds like, venture forth. That was so delicate, Ridley. Your party travels westward. The road dips. You see a dusty, cracked sign that reads Psychic, with no one to accompany it. You see massive cotton fields and a large sorting barn that reads Western Cotton Company. You pass carts heading the opposite direction. An old man driving a cart while a cat surveys the countryside along him at the tiller. A girl and her mother walking on foot, carrying little crossbows with elegant filigree carved into the flax-oiled wood. You arrive at the road crossing of the Starwater, whose source is high in the mountains to your north. The bridge is surprisingly well maintained, and the river water is greenish in the shallows and a deep, clean blue in the channel. One moment. The river rushes past the trestles of the bridge.
Brenner gets off the front, as if to suss out the structural integrity of this thing. I assume being on a traveled merchant road, it should be fine, but the idea still perks up in the back of his head.
Do you have any engineering background?
Not really, no.
You assess that the bridge's trestles are made of stone, and the bridge crossing itself is made of thick wooden planks. They look to be several inches thick. The
Pats
trestle.
one of the planks. Sorry, he just pats one of the planks and gets back on, just assured that this is probably fine.
Feels solid to you. It's now mid-afternoon, by the way. The sun is high, passing noon in the sky. You see Elias drop to one knee and suss out any issues with the bridge with you. He looks at you, Brenner. Iron Man, does it look okay?
Looks fine. He just kind of shrugs to this notion.
Sala picks up a small rock and throws it into the river. It disappears with a satisfying plonk. Samantha and Evan look amused at you doubting the integrity of this bridge. You have a sense that they think it's funny that you don't believe in the infrastructure of the country that they believe in.
Even still, Brenner will start to kick the horses into gear slowly across the bridge. At least for brevity's sake, I'm just going to move the cart and assume that we're all on it.
Sounds good. As you move along the bridge, it creaks underneath, but seems perfectly solid. You pass over a small island in the channel. Several small trees are growing on it. Below, you think you can see fish in the water.
Can I try and mage hand a fish?
You could try. Make a dexterity saving throw.
20.
You grasp. You summon the power of the Shadow Weave to do little more than grasp a fish from a river. You do so successfully, using Mage Hand to grasp a small 3-pound catfish. It ventured a bit too far from the depths, and you snatch it, gasping for air, out of the water.
Taltrin gives a little golf clap.
I caught dinner.
Its whiskers twitch in the air. It's suffocating.
Alright, now I'm definitely going to ask, how are you still hungry? As he pats his belly.
How are you not?
Are you going to finish that off, or will we simply dangle it in the air until it suffocates, which seems rather slow and...
Gastmere, you have a sense that this is merely torture.
Have you never caught a fish before?
Yes. Well, no, not really, but I assume that you would have to smash it over the head.
The fish gasps for air. Its gills look dry. Its whiskers start pointing downward.
I know how it works with fish.
How about you just shuffle it this way and I'll do it for you?
Do you know how? Without ruining the fish?
Oh, folks.
How would I ruin it?
Crush the spine, you can crush parts of the meat. Do other things.
Why would you wish its spine intact?
Can we have this conversation in a less vulnerable location, perhaps?
We are having this conversation while walking.
Grab the fish, put it in your bag, let's get across this bridge.
Don't do that. I did that once. It gets everything wet.
You have Mage Hand. Just grasp it, hold it, let's bring it across the bridge. I don't feel great here.
Agreed.
I'm saying that twisting its head would be a rather simple and quick task, and which none of you seem to have the stomach for.
No, I think I'm more concerned with preserving the meat so you can fillet it easier later.
Brenner marches the cart on, attempting to not be pursued by a spelljammer while atop a bridge.
So you know how to fillet the fish, but you do not know how to finish it off.
I know how to do both.
Well, finish it off. Show it.
It'll do it itself.
So you
It's
are
a
into
fish!
you're into torture, aren't you? Is that what the fish do?
Gasmir, with a sense of dread, you watch as this catfish expires in Euros' hand. Euros, you can feel where this fish spawned, where it was from, and where it would go. And you can sense Umberlee's black smile as she summons vengeance somewhere. You transgress.
It's a fish!
I joked about it, but it's true.
Nothing Gold is, very quiet for once and also looking very purple.
What does purple and nothing gold like indicate?
Like the bark is purple, or you're like leafy bits.
It's which parts? How?
She's just purple. And as we're talking about the fish, she leans over the railing and vomits into the water. That's what that indicates.
You retch into the river water. It flows downward.
That's a waste of a feast.
And this is why we do not torture creatures. We put them out of their misery quickly, humanely.
Have you never been hunting?
Oh yes, of course I have.
Not
It is a
you,
rather
him.
boring sport.
I can't just stop and pull out my knife and fillet it here or cut its gills or anything. You
Are
wanted
we
to go-
cross this bridge?
You wanted to cross the bridge, and I'm trying to move the bridge with lunch.
Brenner has been kicking the horse forward this entire time.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Gasmir is meandering along, but she is admittedly a bit preoccupied.
Why are you so suddenly upset over a fish?
I'm
It's
not
a-
upset. I'm actually rather
You weren't
intrigued.
this upset with all the other people.
Well, they expired rather quickly, did they not?
Yeah, and the fish expired just as fast. I don't understand the double standards.
I think it was rather slow, but we can measure next time for your peace of mind.
I'm not giving you any of this catfish when I cook it.
That's fair enough. Besides, you do seem to eat a lot more than the rest of us. Keep the fish.
It's because I like to keep my strength up.
Nothing gold. Are you good to carry on? You're still a touch purple around the gills.
Yes, I hate not being in contact with the ground. Let's keep going.
Oh, is that what that was? I thought it was the needless torture.
You don't like water?
Salt water?
Isn't this a river?
This is a river. This is
Fresh or salty? It's fresh because I caught a catfish.
Racket.
this is fresh
Well,
water.
there are catfish in salt water.
This is, and it becomes more brackish here south of the Wyvern water, but this is the star water that eventually drains into the Sea of Stars. Is the party? Do I sense that you're traveling on? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Gasmir, did you have a thought?
No, she's filing this this away for later.
As they're cresting the bridge, Brenner does lean into Ada, who I assume is still shotgun. At the very least, he's not going to try to resurrect the damn thing.
Give him any ideas.
The party, you, travel until dusk becomes nightfall. You find a natural campsite amongst head-high rocks. One moment. You find a natural campsite. There is an old fire pit here, and previous occupants traced designs in the mud by the rocks of the fire pit. Evidently, it has been the fate of many people to pause here, and you wonder about the lines of the terrain that led you here.
Can I have a Brenner?
Where's Brenner? One moment. Who else did we lose? Oh, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second.
There's so many NPCs now.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, I'm good. Brenner drives the horse to the closest tree and hitches it. Looks directly at Taldred, wherever he might be in this scenario. There's two of me now. Are you sure you gave them your name? He points upwards.
Probably.
They're a little late.
I mean, they don't live here, right? Maybe days mean something different to them?
Maybe it's for the best.
Maybe there was bad traffic.
I was going to pressure Ada, but they seem to be missing. They're back.
There you go.
And big floating boats have bad traffic.
In case let me be very clear, because I sense I muddied the waters earlier. It is September 6th. It's currently the evening of September 6th.
It's tomorrow night they're coming.
You are expecting the Githyanki, assuming that they're consistent with their word, to arrive tomorrow.
Oh. Scratch all of that.
I figured.
Or keep it in.
You tell us. Were you confused, or do you want to hand off the piece? What do you think?
I think I'm going to give that a hand off the piece. Brenner was likely confused with the date.
Okay. We do so. Your hand was off the piece. You say this. Taldred, or whoever, you know that Brenner is doing a poor job with his mental calendar.
We've had a busy couple of days, though, so I think it's forgivable.
Yeah, I think so too.
You find forgiveness in your golden heart.
Alright. In either case, they left bedrolls here for that clearly aren't laid out there, right? Those were not produced by the party.
I'm sorry. Those are your bedrolls.
Okay.
This is a map that represents you camping here on the road.
Either way, Brenner will put his foot down. This is where we're resting. This is the best place we could find. I think now that we're not all wind up, we should likely post one.
Okay, wait, so across the table, are there sleeping bags here?
We produce
There. These are yours. This is a map that represents
okay.
an abstraction of you sitting down on a anonymous little forested cove, a little glade here off the side of the road. You, Taldred, you must have forgotten. Just moments ago, you unfurled your bedroll and set up around the fire.
Everyone's very forgetful today.
It is. I apologize. But you find yourselves here in a little camp for the night.
As she did the night before, Nothing Gold will tend to the horses and she'll spend some time looking at their hooves to make sure they didn't pick up any stones from the road.
Roll animal handling.
A 9.
You do your best. Even though you're having a hard time getting the horses to cooperate, you sense that it is in fact the thought that counts. You take care of these animals that you feel a certain kinship with. You sense how hard that they had to work today and how much danger they must have felt when you were on the bridge. You seem to understand something that goes over the head of your many humanoid companions. That these animals are doing a great service for you and they are valorous just as you are. Shall we take a moment? I think we're down 2 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is Discord dying?
No, David has internet problems because the hotel
Okay.
in Ridley had to step away for a second. Looks like
They have dogs.
doggos. And I'm just over here arguing about fish.
What a... Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so Taldra gonna produce that hero's feast again in the morning, or
Yes, most definitely. If I and Taldra would have realized, we would have had it tonight instead of in the morning.
much confusion was about?
Okay, I'm gonna whip up some prime catfish.
I hope you can taste the shock and fear.
It's fine.
What were you saying, David? Mike, I'm sorry. I did cut you up.
Nothing of importance. I love the fishing chat in Avernus chat.
Good. Glad.
Got a lot of notes today. Look at all those notes.
I know. I really appreciate it. Can't believe you guys burned the postcards.
That's rude.
No, I was excited to use them.
So,
So,
it's not we, it is specifically Taldred burned. the postcards.
100% Taldred thought these were marks.
We didn't.
He-
We get to see them.
He like, again, he knows that many, many, many tavern owners are on the Zentarim's payroll. And so he thought that they might use these to track the party somehow, and he wasn't even gonna risk it.
I was actually thinking that OSC as well. Like, my character wouldn't have thought of it, but I was thinking OSC then. Oh, these are very distinctive.
I think that's a good choice, though. Aldra definitely has had experiences with some underhanded people running bars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we could have sent them on a wild goose chase had we actually mailed them.
You could have mailed them to your friends and family and kept in contact with all of the people you value. You
God
could-
damn.
You could
Got
have
friends and family, right?
you could have updated people on your goings and doings. Your G's and D's? You have some of those, right?
Most
Oh,
of
it's-
these.
The thought of sending one to Forbes would have been so cute, because I can imagine Forbes just being really excited to receive one.
That's exactly right. Yes, you could have made Walter Forbes' day. Instead, you just made a tiny pile of ashes.
You also could have made Brenner's day. He's way too drunk to even know that you had them. Riz, all his knows. You just burnt the check when you walked out.
Dude, we'll give Dave 5 minutes. And I don't want him to feel pressured like, oh, I have to fix this tonight, because like hotel internet is normally a nightmare.
Yeah.
So let's give him 5 minutes. Otherwise, we can call it sort of pre-long rest. How does that sound?
That makes sense. Definitely had a good resting point.
We've got plenty more content to rip through tonight, though. Should we?
Oh,
Oh, we've got Dave.
Hello.
welcome back.
Welcome back.
Gamer.
Every-
All right.
Okay. I'm sorry. Anything else across the table? Anybody?
Yeah, I'm good.
Perfect. You find yourselves exactly as you were, around this crackling fire, with your bedroll set up, with the horses hitched, with your companions afoot. You may long rest, or of course, you may argue and banter amongst yourselves or amongst your companions, whatever you see fit.
Okay, so Taldred. How would he? Oh, how would he say this? He would say, "I'll be back in a moment, everybody. All right, got to do a little business in the woods. That dragon meat went right through me." And he's
Mr.
going to.
Taldred, we really do not need to know that.
I just wanted you to know in case people were like, "Where's Taldred? Where's our shining beacon of light?" You know, I'll be back. I promise.
Thank you for placing this hideous mental image in my head.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm gonna use this flat rock by the fire and prepare the fish.
So Taldred's going to walk about 50 yards away from the encampment, and he's going to begin casting Commune.
One moment.
Commune with this fish, am I right?
Ah, yes. Commune, of course. Your 3 yes or no questions. You spend a little bit of time. We will come back to you in 10 minutes. You spend a little bit of time casting this ritual, communing with your deity. Back at the campfire, Euros is using a flat rock by the fire to turn this victim of a catfish into a dinner. You are preparing a delicious meal.
I think. Just my companions around me, the Spangenberg and Ruthenberg. Spanbauer and Ruthenberg are camping across the way.
It looks like they are out of earshot, and you could have a conversation without them unless you wanted to include them or go interrogate them.
Eventually, but folks, I have concerns about the captain's effect on Samantha. I think she may have been receptive to us before, but I think we need to sit them both down and have them tell us their intentions
Nice
in a very
fireside-
clear manner.
A nice fireside side. Christ. A nice fireside chat would probably do us well.
Can I ask you about one thing before we go fetch them, Ada?
Of course.
Have you been to Suzail?
I have.
I want to say no.
Brenna, when you went to Suzail, did they stop you and search things when you enter?
It's been years. Did they? This would have been pre-spell plague the last time that Brenner has been in Suzale. That is a question to you, Mike.
A couple things. One, Ada, I sense a oneness here. Your hand is back on the piece. No worries.
Yes, I've been to Suzelle.
Do they? Is there some paperwork procedure that we should worry about?
Well, it's controlled right now, and they love hectoring people at the borders. This is how they get the primary amount of information. They hassle you at the border and see what your reaction is going to be. Then once you're in the city, they ambush you.
Okay, is there anything we can produce that would let us bypass that?
I think we could produce anything and they would accept it.
A requisition
And at a
form?
later date, they would put a knife inside of us.
Brenner Oswick, this fits your stereotypes. You know that when you were last in Suzale, pre-spell plague, several things were in effect that you would think that any visitor would want to be aware of. Several ordinances would be in effect. One is that you know that in Cormyr proper, in ancient Cormyr, if such a thing still exists, big question mark, that adventuring parties must be licensed. You know that sometime in the past decade, local legislators worked to push many mercenary companies away from operating openly in Cormyr, and you sense that any company, such as yours even, Oswick Company, would probably be met with hostility or derision.
Well, they certainly weren't happy that I was holding a banner at the time. I can tell you that much. Neither mine or he puts his head over towards Talbot. His paperwork's not going to get us anywhere.
Okay, so what if I produce a requisition form from one of the companies inside of Cormyr, and we pretend we're just bringing supplies to them?
Oh, I don't know, maybe like the cart?
Well, are they going to check the cart?
Probably.
I would think so. We look very armed and very suspicious. And Suzale's not a free city. But I assume they are not going to take kindly to us.
As you glance at the carts, you realize that it says emblazoned on the side, Coal Cormyr, and it has mining lanterns on each corner. It looks a bit out of place. Checking in with Taltrid. Go ahead, do it for me. No? We check in with Taltrid in the wilderness, communing with his deity. What questions do you ask Selune?
Talbot would ask, when will the Githyanki arrive tomorrow?
You receive your one-word answer from beyond the astral plane. Afternoon.
Talbot says, can we defeat them?
You receive your one-word answer that you can divine to be correct. Perhaps.
Finally, Talbot says, will you help me?
You receive your one-word answer that you can divine to be correct. Always.
Talbot's happy with that.
Checking back in, around the fire. Yoros still preparing.
So, an idea. I still have these Underdark rations, and they have pickled radishes and cherries in them. Could I sear those up with the fish to give everybody an excellent meal?
I don't see why not. You could cannibalize your Underdark rations using pieces of them to make this meal far more filling and substantial, perhaps even receiving some type of bonus.
I would like to do that, because I have been eating other things besides the rations.
You do so. What genre of bonus would you like it to be? Perhaps fortifying people against something. Perhaps making them hale and hearty. Maybe just filling their stomach. What's your angle?
Make them more sturdy. Cherries are very healthy.
If the party, that's true. If the party consumes your artisan meal that you have created from improvised ingredients, they gain advantage at Constitution saving throws for the next day. You sense that you're preparing these meals to exacting standards. Taldry Talton, Salune goes quiet. You are once again alone in the deep dark forest.
Todd returns to the party.
Something smells good. But not nearly as good as your feast from this morning, you surmise.
Damn right.
Aldred, we were discussing maybe collaring the paladins right now.
Interesting.
I am not sure that we are doing the right thing bringing them there. The last time I spoke to Samantha before the inn, she seemed to think she was going to give us up to the Zentarum anyway. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. I don't want to fight, but I want to make sure it's not going to happen.
Well, let me tell you something.
Tell me something.
Samantha is someone who hates the Flaming Fist so much, she would accept help from the Zentarum. I am someone who hate the Zentarum so much that I would accept the help of the Flaming Fist. I can tell you that if the roles were reversed, there'd be a fight.
Let's not
Then
be
sharpen
so...
your sword.
I believe you positioned this in a manner that is purposefully... well... in opposition. You could consider it more in the manner that she also dislikes the Zents. And that is the angle that we should be playing.
Does she? I can't tell if she does or not. She was more than willing to go to them and hand us over, who Smithfield gave a mission to save the world to, which apparently she doesn't think much of.
I wouldn't say more than willing is entirely fair of a description. I think I've expressed this before and I express it now. I think she is desperate.
I agree, and Gasmir, if you think you're going to get better results going to her without a lot of us screaming down her throat, then by all means, but I need assurances that she's not going to give us up as we walk through those gates. And her captain does not seem like a positive influence on her.
I understand your concerns, Miss Worthworth.
For the record, almost everyone in this camp is desperate.
Yes,
And
that...
almost everybody in this camp does not have high opinions of the mission we're on.
Here's a
We're doing it
question.
because we must.
In what manner does she intend to give us up to the Zents? And is there a benefit to perhaps doing it in a way that will later on benefit us?
I'm all ears. She said she was just going to go straight to the Zent and trade information for us for protection in the future kingdom that they will forge out of Cormyr. This vassal kingdom she envisions. Obvious stupidity.
You love intrigue, do you not? Nothing gold.
Yes, I was just about to ask about those terms that she mentioned she bargained with Maris for.
Yes, would there be any room to perhaps consider those terms and make her see a way in which she might help us bring about the downfall of the Zent as well along the road?
Well, I don't know how else to say this, but she's lost a lot of faith. I don't know how to get her to believe in us, especially as we failed to keep Smithfield alive, and he did seem very important to her.
At the
She
very
also failed to keep him alive.
Agreed. She was his bodyguard.
Yes, there may be a touch of projecting here. I believe she feels frustrated with herself, and she's taking some of that out on us. Which is something that can be exploited if we manage to not, well, anger her in the process.
Additionally, she, well, and the other paladins, I suppose, have the harder job of enacting the future of Arabelle after we're done with our mission.
It's likely in their hands, yeah. We're not the arbiters of Arabelle's fate. We held no positions of power there. Say that this mission is successful, it's in their hands.
Well, I wonder if she thinks of her time in Arabelle as a banishment. She did say she was from Suzale originally, did she not?
I think so.
Yes.
Arabelle is part of Cormyr. I imagine she considers that her city that she needs to reconquer.
I'm just confused about her magic.
I've asked her as much.
She
Why?
refuses to show me her weapon. She's getting it from somewhere. If you turn against your god, because a paladin does make oaths to a god, do they not? You are supposed to lose that connection?
Brenner kind of mumbles his words, as if he's unable to answer succinctly at first. I didn't so much break my oath. I refused it. I don't know the specifics of what happens if you were to break the oath. He ungauntlets his hand again to show. This is more refusing than breaking. In any case, she certainly is consorting with something. We only know there are a handful of players still up there. Yours, as he looks to Taldrin. The one that took your eye, he looks to Ada. Somebody else. If that's Helm, I doubt it.
I doubt it's Helm. I think it's Tempest. In which case, she is packing for battle.
Is there an easy way to tell? Can you divine these connections?
I certainly can't anymore. It's more a personal thing, at least it was for me.
I mean, that would be the other way to easily disable her, is to sever that power of hers, is it not?
Not easy to do.
Not our decision. Hers.
Not- And also, if she's still following Helm, Helm is supposed to be this great guardian. I don't understand why she would turn her back on guarding us.
I'll say this much. My father followed Helm. The original codices of the Osric Company were likely written under his terms. I honestly doubt that under any circumstances, that if she was following him, that she would still grant his power. Unless she's just lying about the whole selling us out to the Zentarum thing. That seems to be a bit at odds.
I've never known a
OCD
paladin
was-
to Helm to lie.
No, sorry. I'm just trying to figure out my character notes because I think she leafed through the tome that Samantha gave her, but she hasn't read it properly yet. But is there anything that like stood out that seems relevant?
Yes. You uniquely have an insight here. A hint is in the name of the item.
That's an obvious answer. Mr. Oswick,
Yeah.
your god. What was he called?
Not mine anymore. Torm.
could you tell us about Torm?
He's a golden prick.
Oh. It seems Samantha is rather fond of that.
You feel Brenner coil at this revelation. Go on.
How about you go on? Because I don't have a rather good idea of Torm. Could you elaborate on that golden prick comment, or is that really all of it?
Have you ever found yourself in a position, in battle, the heat of combat, in front of a child bearing a pitchfork? Have you
Can't
ever
say
been
I have.
so incensed by the divine might raining down upon you, these golden fucking jaws, to tear into that boy's heart? That's Torm. Fuck him.
So Torm is the god of hating children.
He's more than that.
If you did follow this god before, then what was it that drew you to him?
Brenner sighs a bit and calls Eros aside. Help me with this one. As he points to his breastplate.
I'll start handing out fish to people's canteens at this point.
I assumed we were eating during this conversation, but all
Yeah.
the same, he's asking you to help him take the breastplate off.
Oh, yeah, I'll help after that. And while I'm doing this, I'll simply explain. Some people just don't choose which gods they get as well. Everybody has a circumstance.
Yeah.
Well,
When-
if Torm is her patron, I don't think she would be doing this regardless. From what I know, Torm hates Cyric.
You don't know that.
I've never met the guy, it's true, but it's a safe assumption.
Once Brenner has the breastplate off, he unbuttons his gambeson or whatever he's wearing and shows a scar directly over his heart. I died in the field of battle, and those golden jaws lifted me out of it. And on top of that, they laid this fucking collar on my neck. I was chosen. He's not wrong. You don't always get the choice. I was incensed as the golden hero of Torm. Their radiant fucking champion. 10 years. 10 years of my life I gave to them. I
And
threw
then
it
you
aside.
chose not to.
God's willing, Torm was accepting of that, or so I thought. That child, Torm wasn't wrong. He likely needed to die. I met him again across the battlefield, and my hand lit up once more. He's still up there. I know it.
Are we to believe that Samantha's being compelled into service then?
It's her choice. It's a really tempting one, though.
But does she know?
Know what?
That she's communing with that god that we're talking about and not Helm?
At least from personal experience, you knew. You didn't need to be told by the clergy that Torm was the one guiding your hand. I personally never talked to him.
It's just that something changed. There was a moment when she asked all of you to drag Maris out into the street and kill her. The next day, she's saying she wants to see her again to turn us in.
I don't know. She might have been trying to cover her tracks. I don't get it either.
So, to clarify, Nothing Gold, the Temple of the Radiant Heart houses paladins of multiple deities. If this book says that she's an adherent of Torm, I believe that. I'm sure some of the other knights are Watchers of Helm too.
From Brenner's understanding, does that track at all? Because at least to
That
me, the
tracks.
player. Okay.
That tracks. If what you're concerned about tracking is the notion of, let me just clarify to make sure we're on the same page. The question of, does the Temple of the Radiant Heart possess paladins of different faiths? And the answer is yes.
Okay.
And this is likely the root of the conflict between New Paul and Samantha.
Certainly could be. From my understanding, what rudimentary information I gained, and there's many lectures, Torm and Helm are close. And a lot of ideas, they're close. Those things vary slightly. Friction comes from that.
At the end of the day, somebody has to talk to her.
I shouldn't be the one.
Me neither.
There's only one person in this party she respects enough not to spit on.
Everyone looks to Gastamir.
Yeah.
Either you talk to her alone, or we cause a scene, I think. Those are our options.
Let's go over what we hope to gain again. If our
I have to...
argument is simply that we do not wish her to turn us into the Zents. Yes, that is likely to be a conflict. I'd
I
rather
don't
we
see
played
why
a
she
long
shouldn't-
game here, but
What's your long game?
as I've said, I think for her to gain a position with the Zent where she can later on provide us with either information or something other pertinent that assists in our task to take them down.
Would you believe that she would do that? Act as a double agent on our behalf when she doesn't really like us?
I believe her dislike of having the Zent control what she considers hers is far more important than her dislike of us.
When I asked her this exact question yesterday, the word that came out of her mouth was gladly. She would gladly work with the Zentarum.
I want to make a point of this. If you do talk to her, it's important to find out why she hates the Flaming Fist so much that she would go to the Zentarum. Because I was in Cizail when it was besieged, and I can tell you that the things the Zentarum did in that city compared to what the Fist did in Arabel, there is no comparison.
That sounds quite hideous indeed.
That's one way of putting it.
There was another goal where we wanted to distance her from the other one, no?
Certainly got a limp. We could probably just run her off.
Well, I mean, do we know why he's going to Cizail?
I haven't talked to him. Seems like
I
a bit of an
imagine-
upstick ass.
I imagine he gave her the orders to do this.
Do you want me to talk to him while you talk to Samantha? She says to Gasmir.
It seems hideously convoluted. Can we not converse with both of them at the same time? If there is
Sure.
something that they're hiding from one another, that should also bring that out.
In an ideal world, she would fight with us to free her country.
Yes,
She
I
would be a
believe-
powerful ally.
she would, and I think the lot of you are expecting this to happen immediately, without any sacrifice. I don't think that's realistic.
That's true.
It seems her mind has been poisoned.
To that much I can agree. As much as I can spit on Torm's name. There are a number of good men under his rank. Hard not to call them that much.
So, we still need to do something. I think if we're taking the long game or the short game, there needs to be a conversation tonight.
Or maybe not.
Why not?
Well, to be honest, talking hasn't seemed to help much with her. Maybe she respects Might more.
Maybe we can delay our journey a little bit so they can see us deal with this Githyanki.
Mr. Dalton, you aspire to stoke violence, and yet when the violence takes place, you turn away from it.
That is absolutely not true. I know exactly what I want out of life, and it has nothing to do with Samantha Rutenberg and the Fist.
Then why would you care if we attempt to use the options that we have instead of simply slaughtering her like an animal?
Because Forbes asked to bring her back.
Well then, let's attempt that. It just might take a touch longer than intended, but...
Time is not something we have a lot of.
No, but there is some. Nothing gold. Let's go.
All right.
Good luck, you two. And why don't you give her the message stone, Yoros?
The what?
The
The
message
rock?
stone. The rock.
The rock. She already had it.
You can see what I'm intimating here without being overly coy, Yoros.
Did you like the fish at least?
Loved it.
I will hand over the rock.
Nice.
It's the wrong one. It's supposed to be orange.
I know. Just use your imagination.
It sounds as if the party has developed a plan of conversational attack.
Taldred said, who's going to talk to them?
Those two.
Enhance ability to both of them. Eagle Splendor for charisma checks.
Let us. It's 14 minutes from our end point here. I think this is a good stopping point before we tread a new sequence.
Agreed. And I will also enhance ability on them. The one for wisdom.
Ah. Let's make sure.
You realise it's a terrible idea to do this and turn back.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, let's cut it there so you can let your terrible ideas flourish. Not next week, but 2 weeks. Does that sound reasonable?
Sounds good.
Yes, sir.
I'll see you guys next week for a bye week. Thank you so much for playing Dungeons and Dragons with me.
It's a really fun session.
It's great.
I thought so too. Okay. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Night, everybody.